questions on page 43 and 44 is that you're always thinking of this as your X and Y. The first one is always your X. The second is your Y. Meaning, if I'm going to graph it, I want to put the label down here for X. And over on this side, I want to put the label for Y. Your quiz that we are going to take momentarily is going to be on telling me positive, negative, no correlation. So any questions before, okay, we want to be able to, I can draw a trend line. They drew one here, this red line. Could we have a different trend line that someone else thought, oh, you know what, I think the middle of my data is a different line. And they drew maybe this line. They started up a little, and they did something like this. That could also be a trend line for that. Could I have someone else that said, you know, I'm looking at this data, and I think this is my trend line. I would take all three of those probably from you for answers. So the question is, when you draw your trend lines, we're going to talk about you need half the points above and below, but you're going to always start with that scatter plot. So this one would have been, I would say, a strong positive. So from the quiz, this shows a strong positive, this one with these points. So it says, does the straight line model the general pattern of the data? We would say, yes, the line that they gave us pretty much is in the middle, that red line, right? So please put a yes. Then we are going to be taking a look, and it says, well, we need to review first finding equations for lines. Equations for lines are down here. This is what your answer needs to look like. So for the equation, would you please put right behind this line right here, would you please write the word black? Why do I need you to write that? Because on yours, none of them are in color, right? Over here, please put blue, because again, on your graph, they just look like lighter and darker colors. Some of you aren't writing anything. Please write blue, black, and red. Next, it says, well, what information do we need in order to write this equation? We need first to know the slope. When you think of slope with a graph, that is your rise over run. Since we're going to do the black line first, can we tell the rise over run from 2 points on the black line? I rise up 2, and I go over 2. So if I was looking for my slope of the black line, I'm going to put that way over here. I'm going to put m equals 2 divided by 2, which is 1. The other thing that I need is my y-intercept. How do we find the y-intercept? That's when we have 0 with b. That is on the y line. So when I am taking a look at that, I'm going to look down this y line, and I am looking at all of those points that are on there. So on the black line, I can see it right here at this point at 3. I would put over here b equals 3. So I need you to write your equation and check with someone. For the red line, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put m equals b equals. For the blue line, m equals b equals. As you write your equation, someone want to give me the equation for the black line as I am looking at that. Y equals, what do we have for our slope? Slope was even 1x plus 3. Oh, someone doesn't like to write it that way. They put and said y equals x plus 3. That would be fine also, right? Right now, out in front of each of these, please count your rise over run for your red line and your blue line, and tell me what you're getting for your slope and your y-intercept for each of those. Slope down here for the red line. 2. It's positive, right? It goes up and over. Again, remembering that slope face, positive slope goes up, negative slope is going to go down. So I get a positive 2. What would you say, Emmy, as I'm looking at my y-intercept on the red line? -1. Leah, you ready to give us the equation? Y equals 2x minus 1. Natalie, the next slope of my blue line, what do you got? -1/4, because it's going down. So when we look at that slope, we are going -1/4. And then, Ginny, if I'm looking at the y-intercept for the blue line, 1. Charlie, I want to write the equation, y equals -1/4 x plus 1. So, in our assignments, what we're going to be doing is you're going to have scatter plots. You're going to use that ruler to draw a nice straight line, and then you have to write the equations this way. So, as you take a look at the next page, it says a trend line is a line on a scatter plot that is drawn near the points. Put those rulers down, please. That shows correlation. There should be about the same number of points above the line as below it. It says when the two sets of data have a positive or negative correlation, you can use a trend line to show the correlation. You might have seen this in state testing or on map testing where they have the points and ask you to come up with a line. Right? Then we're going to use our lines to help us predict. Right? So it says you can use a trend line to estimate the values below by looking at the data. Now what's really nice is I might say, oh, I want to know when it is this many kilograms for the mass of my car, what is going to be the braking distance? Right now, for the state of Nevada, would you please draw your line of best fit? Take your ruler. It always needs to be a nice straight line for the ones that we're doing right now. Later, we're going to have ones that aren't linear, but these are pretty linear. So take your line so that half the points are above and below. So if someone had a line like my blue line up here, that would probably be okay. Someone else could have had a line that went maybe more like this one, right? You have half the points kind of above or below, so just drawing your line, okay? The next page, the next part down in your notes, we're going to be more specific. So this would have been a scatter plot that you would have drawn, and here is a line. And it says, well, how do we do this when we're in our assignment, when I have a scatter plot and you've just drawn this line? So it says, estimate the slope. Pick 2 points that are on the line. The easiest, most beautiful point, if you can pick it, is always on that y-axis, right? So this point, we want to definitely pick that one, 0, 0. And then you want to think of another nice point. And by nice, I mean, like, I could use this one, but it's 1.5, right? So I might go instead to this point right here. Where is that point located? 2 and 20, right? So I'm going to write down my 2 points. I have 0, 0, and 2, 20. Aaron, if we are looking at our rise from 0 up to here, what is my rise going to be to find my slope? The rise is going to be 20. Right? If I'm looking at my run going across, as I look at that, Austin, what am I looking at for my run? How far did we go across? Careful, look at the scale on the bottom. 2. So the biggest mistake, Aaron got it when he said the 20, but it's so easy to go, oh, 1, 2, count these tick marks and go 4. Watch the scale. That's the biggest mistake on the homework tonight. Watch what your scale is so that you use the right numbers. So 20 divided by 2 has a slope of 10. The other thing, estimating that y-intercept, if I'm looking at that map, what is our y-intercept where it crosses here? So the y-intercept, where did it cross? At what point? 0, 0. So my y-intercept is 0. Oh, that makes it so nice. I need to write my equation, Nora. Y equals what? Yeah. Could someone else have just said y equals 10x for my equation? So now what I'm going to ask you to do is say like, oh, what if you did 3.5 miles? I wonder what your time would be. Now, you could actually go up on this graph and go, oh, it looks like it should be like 35, right? You could actually estimate that. We are also going to be asking you to use your equation when you do that. On the top of the next page, as you look at this last part before we go into your assignment, it says, use the data to predict the length of a baby panda between at 7 and 10 months. So the first thing, we already made the scatter plot for you. Key thing is, X is always the first one, Y is the second. My X was my age. Some of you are flipping these around. Y is the body length. Please take your ruler and draw a trend line. You should kind of get it to either go through the points or really close to them. Take your ruler and draw your trend line. Do that. You don't want to move your ruler, you want it to be a nice straight line. Now, if you don't have half of the points above the line and half below, like if you have your line lower than that and all the points are above it, that's not a great trend line, and yours is going to be, your answer is going to be a little different. So when I look at mine, I have this nice point right here. Why do I think it's a nice point? Yours might be a little different, but the reason I'm going to pick this one is because it's at 7 and 25. Do I have another nice point? Maybe right here. Right? 9 and 30. So my 2 points that I'm going to use are going to be those 2 that I circle. When you do your assignment, I would circle 2 points. So if I am rising, Zephaniah, how much am I rising up? From this point to this point. Okay, wait, from this point right here to this one. What's my scale over here? How far did I go up? From 25 to 30. How much? So my slope, I'm going to write m equals rise. We're going to say 5. What would my run be as I am taking a look at this, Grace? How far are we going over? 2. 5 divided by 2 gives us 2.5 for a slope. If I add 8 plus 2.5, do I get really close to 11.75? 8 plus, I get 10.5, right? How about if I take 11.75? If I add 2.5, 11 plus that gives me pretty close to 14, 15. So when I'm taking a look at these, as I look at my slope and y-intercept, I always want to just make sure that it is really close to that. I need to write my equation. Can we tell where this is? What are you thinking, Anna? Y-intercept of what? Which one do you want to use? Okay. Could someone else have said 7 for that one? Yes. I would have taken either answer. I need to write my equation. Christian, we're going to write the equation. Y equals? Yep. Plus 6. So we chose to use the 6. So once I have my equation, I then need to use it. So Terriata, it says for 7 months. That means that my x is going to equal 7. So if I'm going to use this equation, tell me what to write down before I put it in my calculator. Times 7. Does that make sense? Because I'm trying to find out when the panda is 7 months old, and then I'm going to have a plus 6. Please put that in your calculator. This is my y. We plugged in, and mine said we got 23.5. We're going to label that with inches because our label here was inches. So at 7 months, that panda is 23.5. Now we're going to do it when x equals 10. So this time, Will, we are going to write down what? Y equals times 10. Yep. What'd you end up with? 31 inches. If we would have put this as a 7, right, this would have been 24, this would have been 32. Am I concerned? Nope. I had in the last class when we drew our line, it came out to be 2.9 instead of 2.5. Your answer does not have to be exactly the same as the back because it's an estimate, right? You're drawing a trend line and your line might not be exactly the same as the next person. The next question says, okay, so when we looked at this, what was our slope? Our slope for this one was, if we were taking a look at that, 2.5. The question is, what does that mean in the context of this problem? So in the context of this problem, what this 2.5 is telling us is that the panda, right? And I had a couple people in here do their survey questions on panda, I think. The panda gains 2.5 inches in length, right? So it's getting taller each month. Is that going to continue forever? Do you think this is going to continue? I mean, this is like when we think about babies, and when we think about babies, like that first 12 to 18 months, they grow, and then they kind of get the same, and they grow, you grow again, right? So this is not going to continue with that trend if you are taking a look at that, right? So as we take a look at your homework, right? It is just asking you to write the equation, and then this is your page 46. Okay? When you go on this one, notice this is a nice point right here, and this is a nice point. But you got to really watch the scale, right? Because this is not going up by ones, it's going up by tens over here, and this is going by 10. So the first thing I want you to write down, M equals rise over run. You should be able to easily tell me the B point, and then your equation is always going to be like this for your answer that you could circle. You always need to find the slope, you want to find the y-intercept. When you're looking at that rise over run, you might want to write that down. So if I look at number 1, what would you say my rise is? Let's make sure you look at the scale from that point here to here. We're going 10, 20, how much did we go up? From 30 to 40 to up to 60, we should have gone up how much? 30. So I'm going to have a rise of 30. What is my run going to be going across? How far did I move across as I'm looking at that one? 8, what'd you get going across? From the points that we circled, right? So we're going to say, how much if we start here? We're going to have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now, with 30 over 50, we don't want to leave that as our slope, right? We can simplify that. If you want to put a decimal, you could. So you could just say that m is equal to 3/5. X, and now you're going to put in your y-intercept. So on each of these, I want you to find the rise and the run and your b, and then you're going to circle your answer as your equation. When you get to page 46, please put an F next to distance in feet, put a Y next to the number of center hits. Tomorrow in class, we'll go through some questions as you're finishing this, but I ask you to use your equation to make a prediction. So it's these 2 pages as you are finishing up your assignment.